Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode 285 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association is all about supporting and connecting local artists, musicians, and creators right here in north central Iowa. Head over to fdfineartsassociation.org to find their community calendar packed with upcoming concerts, art shows, theater events, and more. While you're there, check out their podcast, FDT. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. That's the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association, celebrating creativity and community in the Fort Dodge area. This week, I'm sitting down solo. It's going to be a short week. I got a couple articles here I pulled up, and I don't know, I'm just going to kind of read through them and talk about them, see what you guys think. I'm also going to pull up a thing about AI at the end here and kind of talk about it and see what happens and see what you guys think about it, because it's definitely a hot button issue. 2026, we'll see what happens with AI and all you music people out there. So let's cue the music.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right. Okay, so I do get these, let's say like either from like Bandcamp, CD Baby, all these different places you can release music from. There's every now and then I get emails and I kind of like look at them and sometimes I get emails that say like, this is what you should do, or et cetera, et cetera. So this is 12 tips for success in 2026 from CD Baby artists. I don't, whatever. People I probably haven't heard of. Maybe I should go pull their music up. It might be pretty good. You never know. But these are very different types of musicians. We've got like alt rock and metalcore. We've got independent electronic musicians, pop and soul singers. But a lot of this stuff they're kind of talking about, it kind of like overlaps, or I feel like it's just generally applicable to most music styles anyways, or kind of what most people are trying to do, whether or not you're in a cover band or whether or not you're doing the original music thing or mixing the two together, or you're in a rock band or what. This is just kind of, I'm going to broad stroke a lot of this. Own your fan relationships, stay dynamic, and find your niche. That's the first one. But yeah, be dynamic. The one they're talking about there with like social media platforms, different content does better on different platforms. And, one of the things I've kind of been talking to people about is if you have anything that's like remotely long form content, whether that be a whole song or a whole music video, or any sort of whole live video of some stuff, or a handful of live videos, like it's so easy to repurpose these things into new content and things you can utilize to promote things. I sometimes it makes me think, I just don't think people either want to do the extra work, or they just don't know how easy it would be to, if you have something posted, let's say on one social media platform like TikTok, you could just save that thing and then post it somewhere else, or let's say create it in TikTok and then post it elsewhere, or just use whatever platform you're kind of the best with, and then just kind of copy paste things over to certain places. And what that'll do is it'll give you a nice little benchmark, and you can kind of tell, what works best where, and is it worth your time to post those types of things on this other platform or not. And, that will be the biggest kicker. Because I notice most people, like everybody has their preferred social media platform. Like they're always on, this one or that one, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, all the good ones, YouTube as well. But yeah, it kind of depends on really what you want to get out of it. There are people on other platforms, but this is just an easy thing. Like sometimes, it doesn't have to be like just a static Facebook post, but I think there's also things people, maybe they don't realize you can make posts on your YouTube channel. There's just little things like that I think, it depends on what you're trying to post and where you're trying to post it. But, being dynamic with your platforms, it's a good example of, you can try things out in different places, see how they work, go from there. Finding your niche, having a direct connection with your fans. That seems to come back into this over and over again. So here's another one. Stay focused, lean into your strengths, and network. So stay focused with exact goals. I do some, production work for other podcasts, or just like camera work or whatever it happens to be, sitting behind the mixer, doing the editing, just random things. And one of them is a financial podcast, and they talk a lot about goals. That's something that they're very big on. They talk a lot about, just make a list of goals or what you want to do, and your goals are going to be different than everyone else's goals. So you shouldn't ever measure your progress versus somebody else's progress. And a lot of this is really, really good advice. But it's kind of funny because I never really thought about how this, in some capacity also relates to music. I always kind of say, when I've been relaunching the podcast, I will say like, this is probably the way it should be done. But if you're doing what you want to do, then you're doing the thing. You then good job. You did what you wanted to do. So this is where goals come in mind. I have a question. Like, does anybody out there actually make goals? I know we all kind of have like general goals, but this says, staying hyper focused on an exact goal. So you want to reach something, and how do you accomplish it? So the best way, a goal without a plan is just a dream. So if you're going to set up a goal, you got to have a plan, and you got to follow through and try it out. And, this is something I think we all struggle with in some capacity. We all kind of, I want to do this, or someday I'm going to do this, or, there's a lot of those, or I'll do this someday, or I'll like watch these things and then I'll incorporate it into my playing eventually. But like, those, we need to have these goals. Like, when are you actually going to do this? And, being accountable is just, it's not easy. It's just something, we probably all have a little bit of struggle with it, but I feel like it's just a muscle. We just need to flex more, and we'll get better at it. But yeah, anybody out there actually set goals? Like, do you have a goal like in 2026 where you're like, I want to record one song, I want to write, 2 or 3 new songs? Do you have like goals that you write down? And if you do, like, do they change over time? As you meet them, is it the next year you want to record 2 songs, or do you want to make a music video for the song from the previous year? Or like, what exactly are your goals if you're setting them? That's kind of what I want to know. So yeah, lean into what you do best, hone your weaknesses, but also figure out what you can do best. I feel like the band dynamics is some of the best for this. When I played with Three Finger Betty and we were doing 50 plus shows a year around the Des Moines and central Iowa area, we played a lot of shows, and we found out like who did what the best, and certain people would be like, well, I'm going to bring this strength to going to a show. If we have to like, run our own sound, then this person's probably going to be the person that does it because they're the best at it, but that leaves it open to like, well, this person will probably run most of the social media, and that person will do most of the booking, and this person has connections, so like we figure out like everybody has their own strength, and everybody, has what will work best to kind of get to the end goal for the band, and that's kind of, again, you have to have a goal. I feel like everybody in the band has a purpose. There's the one guy that's like always really good with gear or fixing something, or like there's always one guy with like a truck or something. This guy's got a van so he can drive us place, or whatever it happens to be. But yeah, lean into what you do best. Obviously you got to hone in on your weaknesses. You got to figure out what they are and kind of find a way around them. But, in a band dynamic, sometimes your weakness can be somebody else's strength, and you don't really have to worry about it as much. And that's the beauty of being, in a band and working towards goals, if everybody's goals are on the same page. So another one is network, and it just says network like a billion times in this paragraph. So obviously networking, important. And I know like, I feel like when you label certain things as certain things, like, oh, networking, what am I, a businessman? Or like, it just feels so cheesy. What am I, in a suit, or, what am I doing, shaking hands and kissing babies? Or how does this all work? No, you just go to a show. You just go to a show, and just when somebody walks by, you say, hey, great job. And then if you strike up a conversation, you kind of introduce yourself, and then maybe, your band and their band can kind of hang out or get together sometime, play a show together, whatever it happens to be. If you're a singer-songwriter, you could split a show with somebody or go to a writer's round with somebody. Jam nights, that's a great way to kind of just go out there and network. And it's so funny because like there was a jam night not too long ago up in Fort Dodge that I went to, and it's funny because this was an occasion where I just felt like not playing, but it was really funny because you run into these situations sometimes at jam nights where you're just like, I think this kid's better at the guitar than I am, and it's like a teenager, and then later you go meet somebody and they're like, oh yeah, I know who that kid is. He actually like plays Malmsteen songs and stuff. And you're like, oh, Yeah, okay. Yeah. But yeah, networking. It's funny when you like, the amount of people you run into that you might not ever run into by just going to shows. And it's fun that eventually when you start going to shows and you play more shows and you just talk to all the other people in the band, you kind of just, you don't have to be best friends. You don't have to call each other every night, but you just get to know people. And it's easy to talk to these people because you know them well enough. You see them at all the shows. Everybody's a decent human being, I'm sure. But yeah, that's networking, believe it or not. Again, you don't have to be like buddy with these people, but it is nice to just know people and just to know they're available and what they're going to do. And it's unfortunate because there's not really a whole lot of like outwardly marketed networking opportunities for musicians, but there are plenty of opportunities for musicians to go out and network by just simply supporting one another, going to shows, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, fail fast and move on. Let your music and content reflect your life in real time. Avoid burnout by filming your content in batches. It's a big one. Okay, so fail fast and move on. That's an obvious one. Try new things, and if it fails, on to the next thing. Or again, go back, figure out why it failed, and then try it again somewhere else. That's the beauty of jam nights. That could go for just about anything. Social media, making a song, writing music, saying something, doing something at a show, trying a new gig, a new place, saying something over the mic where it's like, this is my new hook for people, and it does or doesn't work, etc. Just try things. Never hurts to try. Let your music and content reflect your life in real time. That is something I've been seeing, like, I think Scott Kirkhart said it once. He might have said it in one of the podcasts, but you're like trying to create a moment with these people. You're not just trying to make like social media posts. So sometimes that is like at a show, it's like, we did this thing, last night. This is really cool. Or you go live for a second, or, it doesn't always behoove you to be like, 3 weeks ago, I took this cool video at a show. Check this out. You got to strike while the iron's hot. You got to create these moments. That way the people that were there at the thing that are newly followed you see the thing that these are the things that are kind of tough. But yeah, you just got to bring people along for the ride. Let people know what you're doing. It sounds loony, but this podcast is fun because I feel like the more I get people on here over and over again and they stretch their legs, like you start to figure out like, oh, so, this person has a cat, or that person likes cars also, or like you start to kind of find this stuff out about these people, and this is their, their real life type situation. So they're kind of like opening up, and that's what we're looking for, in a lot of these, social media posts and things like that. Avoid burnout by filming your content in batches. Holy smokes. This is a big deal. This is one of my favorite things about podcasting is you got like, boom, you got an hour worth of content or half an hour worth of content or whatever it might be. But now I can chop it up and do whatever I want with it whenever I want to. Sometimes I don't, but that's because it's also my job to do this for other people, and I do plenty of it. But this is one of the easiest ways to make content, chop it up. As long as you got something remotely good to say, it'll work out this way. But yeah, you can do this by like, film at a show and then like chop up some of the live stuff with some music in the background, and boom, you got yourself a little sizzle reel for an upcoming show somewhere. It doesn't take too much to do this, but you can also like think like, oh, it'd be fun if I did a social media post every day for like, here's a new song every day for 30 days or whatever. You take one afternoon and you do like 30 songs and you record all of them, and then you can just chop them up and throw them online and schedule them all out, and boom, you have a whole month's worth of stuff. And you only had to work one whole afternoon, so that could be like a Sunday, and all of your social media posts are done for, if you're doing like a reels or something like that, a new song every day or whatever it happens to be, which works, believe it or not. That it just takes the time to do it. And I know that that's the big thing is we all have lives, and the internet's not real, and social media is just an exhibition of your life, and it's not actually your real life. So, but this is an avenue you could take if you want to. Create genuine low pressure ways to connect with your fans. Trust your intuition, even if it feels uncomfortable, and then take ownership of your sound. So genuine low pressure ways to connect with fans. It's not so hard for all of us. We're not like mega superstars. And the few of us that I would say that I know, have a very, very large following are still very accessible people. So basically you could play a show and then say, I have merch. Come talk to me over here. I'm taking a 20-minute break, and boom, easy interaction with people. Another one is just go to shows or walk around and say hi. Those intermissions are key for that. Trust your intuition even when it feels uncomfortable. I don't really worry too much about this one. You just do what you want. That's kind of how I feel about that, reading that one. But otherwise, take ownership of your sound. So this is something that not everybody always has the situation to do. And this isn't a dig at anywhere I've played, but I've played enough shows at enough clubs where the band that I was in was not an important enough band on the bill for the sound person to give you more than the bare minimum, I guess. And I'm not trying to rip on any place or any specific sound people. That's just the way it works. Sometimes you're the opening band on a 5-band card, and then they got to flip and then do another show later that night after 9. I get why you might have low batteries by the time you get to my band or things like that, but it's not always easy to do this. But again, having the gear you want, knowing that it can sound good, and then just bringing that to the table. I think that's some of the biggest key thing. I'm lucky I'm mostly an electric guitarist, and I just bring it in. As long as I can hear my electric guitar, I can kind of figure out what's going on. But again, I've been at so many shows where it's just I can't hear what I'm playing unless it's wrong, and then I always hear it. But yeah, that's a big one. Taking ownership of your sound is not always easy, and it's not always something that everybody has the ability to do, because again, sometimes we're doing our own sound. But if you're doing your own sound, make it sound good. All right, so there was another article. It was an album release strategy for 2026. I'm just gonna hot rod through this. I don't think it was as interesting as the last stuff. That doesn't mean, flip the podcast off and go to something else. But yeah, submit your music, choose a release date. So basically, this is going to tell you when you record an album, this is basically what you should do. So you finish your album, submit it, get all your cover art and all your metadata and all the nonsense you guys need to do to get everything in there, get everything's mastered or whatever. But then get it out there, schedule a release date, and promote it. It's going to do better than if you just threw it on the internet and said, here, I released something last week or whatever. The ways you can do this is, create a press release, update your electronic press kit. This is something a lot of us don't really have EPKs. They're not really hard to make. But yeah, this is something you'd have a press release. Send it to just basically anyone. It's crazy to think this, but there are a lot of media outlets out there just starved for content. Local radio stations are, believe it or not, great. They're great if you go in there and talk to them and say, hey, if you guys need to fill some time, I can come in and talk to you about this thing that I did. Or you can just give them the information and maybe they'll talk about it. A lot of times, like I said, they have shows, they need content. Otherwise, there's just not a whole lot going on at some of these places. Local newspapers and things like that are also really good. I'm not trying to say these are the down and out companies, but these are the industries that are I would say more receptive to this than they might have been in the past. You're not really fighting for space. Granted, you don't have quite the reach you used to. Maybe it depends on where you're at. But yeah, talk to some of those people and kind of get out there. There's a podcast circuit. There's 3 or 4 shows now that are, I guess, similar-ish. They're the music-related musicians, local Iowa type shows that are out there now that are kind of doing something like I'm doing. So go out there and find some of those shows and talk to people. Granted, it's not always easy to get a hold of everybody. Some people are busy. Again, a lot of people are doing this pro bono on the side, just something to do. But this says book a tour around your album. Maybe not so easy. But I do know for a fact, I've seen this done a couple times where people are going to release a song at midnight and they will book a show at a certain place and call it the release party for the song. And maybe they'll do something special, like they'll bring a new piece of merch with them, or they'll have a full band with them, or they'll have an opener, something that maybe they might not normally do, but they just change things up. And they're if you go to this, now it's an event, and there's a special thing, and we're gonna play until midnight or 1 or whatever the time is. But as soon as that bell hits, it's just guess what? Now you guys can go listen to the song, and it's all kind of geared around this. I mean, we don't always have the ability to book tours. I don't know too many people that have been on tours. As a matter of fact, I only know a handful that have been on like actual dedicated, full-on tours, booked around something and not just tours for the sake of touring. But this is something like they say, like something as simple as a 3-show run on a weekend can be something big. So you could do that in a few cities. Your hometown, you've already got that on lockdown. All your buddies are there, all your fellow musicians. But yeah, plan a marketing campaign is another one. Plan a marketing campaign, pretty simple. Email, social media, press release, update websites, things like that. Just make things very easy for people to find the thing you want them to find. This isn't about like bothering people and being like, hey, I have music out, you need to listen to it. This is about letting the people know that want to know that it's there. Believe it or not, I recall talking with Taylor Thompson, on the podcast. And I'd kind of like interact with him because he'd sent me a message, like a Facebook message. He's like, oh, I just wrote this song, check it out. And I'm pretty impervious to that stuff. I'm usually just like, whatever, maybe I'll click it, maybe I won't. But I clicked it, I watched it, I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. And then I was just like, hey, does that work when you do this? Does it actually like equate to people watching this? And have you checked to see if like people stick around longer or not? But yeah, there are ways to go out there and interact with people, whether that be website, press, email, social media. Send people text messages with a link to like your song release. Just be like, dude, if you want to, here's this, or whatever it happens to be. That works really well. I understand like you don't really want to bother people or whatever, but it works. Create and order merch. There's another one. Give your fans a way to support your music. So yeah, merch, it works. It works. Every band I've been in some capacity has had merch, and every band I've been in more instances than not has had a very, very high level merch sales. It works very, very well. You don't really have to do a whole lot about it. Have 1 or 2, 3 t-shirt designs, maybe not even all at once. Maybe you just order 25 at first just to see what happens. Maybe you do a pre-order. That's another way. If you're like scared to do merch, just do a pre-order. And then there's some people with merch and people actually want it. And then you actually make merch and then bring it to shows. You can do hats. I got a Jesse Wilson hat on right now. I mean, I've got an Audible Farm shirt on. I have one on like, most of the time anyways. They're just my favorite shirts because they're comfy. Which is the other awesome thing about merch. You want to wear your own merch, you buy the shirts you want. Get the hoodie you like. If you have your favorite hoodie, look at the tag, call up the merch guy, say, hey, I want this specific hoodie. Hook it up. They'll do it. They'll print whatever you want on it. Bam. Your favorite hoodie is now your merch. But yeah, merch works well. If you do it right, you can actually use your merch. If you make money off of your merch, you can actually take the money you've made and buy more merch and then have your merch just do itself. And you don't even really have to, just the first initial investment to do it. That's really all it is. All right. So we got another one here. Plan your release day. That comes right back up to the top. Choose a release date. But on the release day, you got to figure out what you want to do. Social media posts, photos, account, tags, email, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things you can do. Update your website, update links, email people, call them, text them, social media posts. It's just, you just need to do something to make this really, really special. Do a hashtag. Hashtag bring back Audible Farm was a thing. There's not like a zillion people that used it, but if you click on the hashtag, you can find out who did use it. And it's actually pretty fun to see some of the stuff out there. So just create your own hashtag, hashtag new music 2026 Jesse Wilson. That's long. It doesn't flow off the tongue, but you can have something kind of like that. So anyways, that's a good thing. But yeah, conclusion, they want you to, pay for their services. So this is basically just a giant ad, but if you're going to release music in 2026, maybe try that. Has anybody tried doing any of this stuff? Has anybody tried releasing music, not telling anyone, and realizing it didn't go very well, and then tried again later and changed up how you did it and it worked better? Is there anybody out there that has a story like that? If there is, please leave a comment somewhere. Message me, message Audible Farm, email, call, text, fax it over if you need to. I want to hear these stories. These are super, super fun. But yeah, that's something that's always like, that process has always kind of intrigued me. And I've never really been the person who's been in charge of that process, in any capacity for any of the bands I've been in. So it's always kind of been I don't know. I always wanted. There's a lot of this kind of stuff I wish I could just dig my fingers into, and I just want to show people how easy it is. The thing is, it just takes time. It just takes time, and some people don't want to take the time to do it, and I don't fault them for it at all. Having done this for my job, I get it. That is, I guess, why I have my job. You can do a lot of this stuff, bare minimum, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort, believe it or not. But if you want to do this stuff whole hog and do, absolutely put everything you have into it, you can actually get great results. But, it does take a little bit of planning ahead, and that's rough. But that leads me to something. That leads me to the topic that I'm going to tackle in the back half of this, and that's AI. You can use AI to help you with this. Oh no. Did he just say that? No, he didn't. Okay. Yes, you can use AI for this. I know a lot of people, this is the big thing. I can't find the original report I read, but there was a report where a whole bunch of people were interviewed and they talked to them about how people feel, and whether or not they have concern. So there's literally 53% of Americans believe AI will erode people's ability to think creatively on an independent level, which is wild to think that. Strong rejection of AI in personal matters such as religion, matchmaking, personal life things, and creative matters. So there's a lot of people, anywhere from 60 to like 80% of people that when it comes down to things that are being creative, so like if I'm making a song, like 4 out of 5 people, if they know it has anything to do with AI, they're already going to have this tinted view of what they think of everything. So it's no different than art. People are always like, AI art is not art. And it's like, there are ways to utilize this without actually going whole hog into this and selling your soul. So example, you could go utilize AI for a social media release strategy. You could literally take everything I've discussed in here, ask AI, like, how should I do this? And it'll just be like, here's 10 steps to make sure you do it. What'll probably work the best or whatever. So there is a lot of use for this. If you're thinking you wanted to do social media. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that thing where I post something on social media every day for, 100 days just to see what happens. And it doesn't always have to be, something that's a big production. It could just be something nonsense. But like, what are some ideas of what I should do? Well, you can use AI as a launch pad. Give me like 10 ideas for this. Boom, here, or like maybe you want to cover 10 songs and you can't find a good song, and ask it for a song. What's a fun song that people like to cover that sounds kind of like these songs, and maybe this song or whatever. The other thing about this is like what we're doing with the way I like to use AI is a launch pad. I view AI like, let's just say, like the analogy I always give people when I'm working with them is AI is like a hammer. It is without a doubt the best tool that's ever been invented. Maybe, I don't know. Fight me on that, I guess. I just think like hammers are so useful. I grew up on a farm. Every outbuilding that was out on the farm had a hammer, like inside right next to the light switch, because you always needed a hammer. It always seemed like you needed a hammer and a 9/16 with a 1/2 inch on the other side. Just something like that. So there was always those types of things, just like in every building. And hammers are great for everything, but hammers aren't a good tool for like, I don't know, precision type things. They aren't good for like being like, you can't like, I'm trying to think of like a good example, because there's everyone's going to be like, no, you can totally do that with a hammer. But like, you're not going to like change your brakes with just a hammer. There needs to be finesse in here. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, you can use AI for the brunt force of everything, and you finesse the rest of it. I get where people also think that is cheating, where like, I don't want to use AI to tell me what kind of a social media content strategy to come up with. But if you still want to come up with one and you're not coming up with one and you're not going to put in the work to do one, this is the easiest way around that. You can actually have it just be like, what should I post? And it'll tell you what to post. However, we're coming back to this thing of like, I wish I could find the original article I had. If I used a different computer with a different history on it, so I can't find it. But anyways, the gist was this: if you use AI and it's obvious that you're using AI, even if it's social media posts, stuff for brands, posting things, it really doesn't matter. If you're just like generating a photo for a social media post, even if people can't tell that it's AI, they can tell that it's just some like stock photo nonsense. They're gonna just kind of be like, I don't know about this. So that's just how people think. I mean, you can think whatever you want, but this is from somebody that works at a marketing firm. This is just how people think. It makes sense. I get why people think this way. It just feels like they could do it. The analogy I also give to people is like, it's almost like when you go to your favorite, you go to like some like nice restaurant. You think you're going to get this like awesome pizza, and then it comes out and it's just a Jack's Pizza, and you're like, I could have just sat at home and made a Jack's Pizza. I didn't have to like if you told me this was what I was going to get, I would have just done it myself. And I think that's what a lot of people think about AI content, which is again why you can use AI to do things behind the scenes with your content and not actually be the content itself. I'm not going to use AI to write a song for me. I'm not going to use AI to, tell me which chords to. I'm not going to like be like, write lyrics and I'll do the chords. I'm not going to give it lyrics and say, give me chords. I'm not going to do any of this stuff. What I do like to use it for though is, smashing up content a little bit. It helps out with that. It helps out with, descriptions on, long posts that I don't want to like change descriptions for. It helps you format things. What if I give it 4 different formats of something, which one is the best and why? It'll like sit down and think about it and tell me, so you can kind of use it in some capacity like this. Believe it or not, I know there's probably people out there that are like, Peter, you're wasting water using AI. Well, over 99% of US adults use AI enabled products at least once a week. And only 50% say they have never used AI in their life, and 14% are unsure if they have ever seen AI. But 99% of us are using it, well over 99, according to this stat. So we all use AI. Again, you don't have to use it as your finesse. You don't have to use it as the thing that is making all of the content, but you can use it as something that will, I guess, give you ideas for content. Maybe something that like, I've already created the content. Now what can I do with this? Or can you help me chop this up? Or can you give me maybe like create a schedule of how I would do this and I'll do it. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. I did have another example. I wish I could remember what it was, but that's the downside of not making any notes. So I feel like this is something that's very, very big right now. Yes, AI should be a tool for augmentation, for helping you do a job better. It should not be for automation in any capacity. That is the general gist of what this article comes down to. Does anybody out there use AI for anything? Like I said, I have used it for things. I've used it, in my job. I think it's getting better than it was, but also like there's things that I don't want to use it for. And there are people at my job that can do what I want AI to do most of the time. Where if I'm not a graphic designer, I know that there are, if I need some like high level graphic design, low level stuff I can take care of. But if I need something high level, I can sit down with a graphic designer that I work with and be like, hey, can you help me with this? And they'll do it just because I know how I would feel. I know based on research how people feel. I know just from talking to people how they feel. You can go on social media and see, like most people don't think AI should ever be used for anything. But yeah, there is definitely a downside of this. There's definitely a downside, but I don't think it is as bad as everyone thinks it is. Again, I wish I had one other example of how I use this and how other people could use it. But yeah, I guess I forgot. Anyways, that is pretty much all I have to discuss about AI. Are you using it? If you use it, how are you using it? Do you use it for your music? Do you use it for ideas on, chord structures? Do you use it for anything like that? Oh, I remember the idea I had. So I have a guitar pedal that was not working, and I'm not like, I don't know, I can figure this stuff out. Again, a lot of this comes down to, is the juice worth the squeeze? Do you want to take the time to do it? And I figured, whatever, I'll try and like figure out how guitar pedals work. So simple, overdrive pedal. Well, maybe not simple, but the basics aren't over the top ridiculously hard. So I read an article or two about it. I figure out basically what I need to do. I open up the pedal. I don't know where to go. So, and I'm not taking photos and doing any of this stuff, but I basically went into an AI software and was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I need assistance, like tracing things out. And this is the problem I feel like I'm having with this pedal. And it gave me a list of things that could possibly be wrong, where I should test them, how I should test them, what I should do, et cetera, et cetera. And I ended up chasing through this pedal, and it sounds crazy, but like the advice it gave me bettered part of the pedal, but it was not actually like what was causing the problem. Believe it or not, going in, digging through everything, I figured out what the problem was. It was just some wires were reversed based on like the schematic that was given to me. I put it together like it was in the schematic, and it shouldn't be like that. So either way, I got the thing fixed kind of with the help of AI, and not really, but kind of. It's kind of cool that you can use it for certain things. I know everyone's probably gonna be like, you should try this, Peter, and you should try that. I know. Give me your ideas. I'd love to hear them. But at the same time, I've probably also already tried this. I've been dinking around with this kind of stuff for the last, I don't know, year and a half or so. And I'm still barely scratching the surface with what you can actually do with AI. There's some wild stuff that software developers have been, integrating AI into things and making them pretty wild. So pretty cool. I don't know. Check this out. If you guys use an AI, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about anybody's, maybe you're making music with it. I don't know. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're using it to tell you how to like connect things because you want to do things that are more advanced than what you need to do. Maybe you're using it just to like take up the time consuming things that you don't want to do. Maybe you've used AI to master something. I know for a fact there are people out there that have done that. I don't want to pay for someone to master this. I'll just AI master it and see what it sounds like, and then send it to, somebody that would know whether or not it's been mastered and see what they think. There are those out there too. So lots of avenues to take with this. I'm going to just call this episode, it's done. But thank you for listening. Let's go to the outro. Oh man, there we go. I went into this episode not knowing really whether or not I wanted to do a solo episode. Solo episodes don't do as well. If you made it this far, thank you. I really, really appreciate you. Lots of cool stuff been happening lately. Crazy winter weather. There's been a couple shows, jam nights, things like that. Upcoming shows all over the place. I've missed some of the shows that I really wanted to go to. And, sometimes social batteries don't last as long as I really want them to, but I've been having fun going to shows, just kind of enjoying myself, whether or not I'm playing. So if you guys are going to any shows, maybe drop some links in the comments. Be like, hey, don't forget about my show this week or whatever. Whatever you got going on. I know there's a lot of good stuff out there, but I want to say thanks for listening. I want to say thanks to the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association, one of the greatest places. I know they got a writer's round coming up. Scott Kirkhart, we had him on last week, so check that out. I've got a couple more interviews lined up. I haven't been the best about getting people in here, hence the missing a week and a couple solo episodes already this year. But hey, we'll get it back on track. We'll get back on track eventually. Thank you guys for listening. audiblefarm.com for basically everything. Patreon for episodes a day early. Video versions on YouTube. Subscribe. Thank you. Peace.